Going out of your way to help some poor Poe, or Harry is a common thing in games. We all stop our main objective to take a step back and find some guy's goat. Everyone knows what a side quest is, but do we know why they are? Like, what are the points of this type of content? Are they just there to pad out playtime? To give a player a distraction from the main content so they don't realize the core gameplay loop is starting to get a little stale or repetitive? Well, yes, that's exactly the point, along with many other reasons we'll talk about. Side quests are there to break up the routine of a game. That's what I believe is the major point of having them. Some feel like an afterthought, or just something thrown in with no thought at all. Like, what's the point of a side quest where I give a guy on the side of the road a potion? I don't care about this guy, let alone the multitude of guys that will ask me for the same thing. And like, oh good, I got 500 gil, a potion costs 50, why don't these people just buy some freaking potions and bring them with them? What, do they use them all already? It's not just the rewards are bad, or the quest is bad, it's that it's all bad. None of it adds to anything. Not the world building, not the mechanical progression, not a zip, you get nothing. This type of side content doesn't feel worth doing for me when it has no reward whatsoever. It's the same thing as getting all 10,000 Korok seeds. Sure, you can use more weapons that break super fast, but we all know it's there to fill out the world. I already shared what I think the main point of a side quest is, and that's to break up the routine of the main game. But how a game gets a player's attention to do that side content can vary greatly. I'm breaking down how games do it into 4 major categories: gameplay interest, practical interest, narrative interest, and a challenge interest. To break them down, a gameplay interest would be something that offers a new mechanic or system to play around with. My mind goes straight to Gwent from The Witcher, arcade games in something like Yakuza, or Greed Mode in The Binding of Isaac, which has the same gameplay with a different twist. And it doesn't even need to twist or change the goals of the player either. Games like Metroid Prime and Prey use the environment and the abilities you've acquired to help you uncover secret areas that will help you progress further, and all this is for optional content. So while no, the game didn't directly give you a quest to go and clear a barred door and Prey, the fact that you can do it whenever you want as an optional thing does count as side content to me. A practical interest is a piece of side content that gives the player something mechanical for the game's systems, typically in the form of a reward as experience, gear, currency, and stuff like that. And are, in my opinion, the most boring if it's the only interest the quest has, but can be very incentivizing for a player, like getting a rare weapon for your high-level class in WoW or getting a legendary weapon in Guild Wars 2. It's the reward for finishing the quest that makes the player want to go out of their way to complete something like that. But those only work when you know a reward before finishing a quest. If a player doesn't know what they'll get from spending their time doing a piece of content, you'll have to incentivize them to do it a different way, such as a narrative interest. Narrative interest is where the reward for doing a quest is the story of the quest itself or the added context it adds to the world. Now, every quest to be added to a game should have some narrative for why you're doing what you do. It's when care is put into these quests in a game like Witcher 3 or Kingdom Come Deliverance, a game we'll talk about in way more detail in a second, that this narrative interest alone can drive a player to want to do side content. Narrative is, I think, the best way to get someone like me invested in not only the content but the game I'm playing, with an obvious exception that the quest and content is still fun. A good side story can not only reinforce the themes of the main game, like in Dark Souls with its long journeys you follow characters through as they find their own goals to keep them from going hollow, but they can also be their own individual narrative experience that can tell a story with the themes or characters that didn't fit into the main narrative. The side stories in Split Fiction are literally side stories that take you on random, usually unrelated mini-adventures where you can fight a mechanical dentist, compete with your friend in a snowboarding race, and even get eaten as a hot dog. But even a great story tied to a side quest won't get some people to go out of their way to do it. Which brings me to the last thing a game can do to get your attention, which is to add a promise of challenge to it. The thrill of overcoming something difficult, the sort of content that is typically the end game, but can be a great reason for somebody to keep playing to that end game. Like grinding extra materials to be able to confront something like Alatreon or Fatalis in Monster Hunter World, or getting some talismans in Luminas to beat someone like Melania or The main goal of a quest like this is to keep you playing to overcome the challenge of the quest itself. And like I said, is typically the final things you do in a lot of games. But can also be done whenever. The arena in a game like Hollow Knight is a great example of something you can do whenever you want to overcome a challenge to get optional stuff. Now here you may be thinking that these 4 interests have some overlap, because they do. To have a quest be good, they should have at least 2 of these elements, if not all 4. Maybe minus the challenge one, that one's a bit weird and should be used sparingly. But a good quest should engage with all of these aspects. Kingdom Come Deliverance is the game I beat most recently that encompasses all 4 of these aspects in different ways. The side quest in that game can range from picking some flowers to finding the bone of a holy priest so a guard can touch it for some good luck. Which is perfect in what I want from a side quest, a tight little story where I cure a village from a plague. Then there's that issue with wanting to do as much as I can. Because I, as a player, try and do as much as I can in a game while I'm playing it, to the detriment of my enjoyment sometimes. Because I know when I get to the credits, I'm most likely not going to play the game very much anymore, if at all. I wish I wasn't that way, but I am. So what often ends up happening for me is I go out of my way to do a bunch of side content to the point where I start to get bored of the game and want to move on to something else, causing me to stack up my backlog of unfinished games even higher. Now this is fully a me issue, but when a game is good and its side content is fun to do, I want to do it. When there's so much though, or I get quests too frequently, I really start to get overwhelmed. Now I have gotten better about this. I can start to feel when the burnout or boredom is creeping its ugly little head in my brain, and when I do, I make a beeline for the main story. Now ignoring quests even if they sound fun because I want to reinvest in the main story. I just can't win. I like the side content and I like the main story most of the time. I want to do both, but I know I'll get burnt out if I do both. At least most of the time. It always makes me wonder, when is it enough? Because you can start to feel it with side quests when they're just added in to pad out time or say, we have over 50 side quests available. And when is there too much of that to distract a player from the main objective to a detrimental point? Because like I said earlier, I do try and do as much as I can when I play a game through the first time. That is a user choice for me, but it is also a developer choice. They put these quests where they did for a reason. Sometimes it is to fully distract you from your current objective, taking you across the map to a different story. Others are to assassinate a target in the next mission. The difference is the energy you as a player use for each one. The assassination is a very low energy, you are already having to go through the stage, so all it takes is a quick detour to kill a guy and dispose of a body. We've all done it. Compared to a quest that has you kill a boss in a unique way. I would consider this a high energy quest because it takes you to a completely different map than you were originally going to and play in a unique way that you're not used to complete the objective. These longer quests require more from the player and are typically the better, more fleshed out quest. But they are more likely to lead to the burnout I talked about earlier because of the energy requirement from the player. There's a real back and forth as a developer making side content. Are you okay with this being the content your player does instead of beating your game? Because most people aren't going to finish your game anyways, so having them do content you put effort to can leave them with a better memory of your game. Then you're faced with how much to add. You want there to be enough to flesh out the world and give the players other things to do, but then they need to be of similar quality, fill out the context of the world, and give the player some reason for doing it. And if there's too much, then it will make the potentially long game way longer. Finding a perfect balance is impossible. Every person will have a different opinion on how much and what type of content should be in a game. But as a player, I want side content. I love to get immersed in the games I'm playing, and side content is the best way for me to feel like I'm actually part of a world instead of reading about it or watching it. The agency I have to decide if I want to do a piece of content is what makes the medium of games unique. So when I get a bunch of quests that have me collect wolf spleens, I start to get a bit disappointed. Because I know that this is the type of quest that doesn't have any thought or care put into it. These type of quests usually give you the practical reward of currency or experience. But more importantly, try and get you to explore the map you're in. But they all, in my opinion, should not be in the game. A game should try harder to get me to explore other than giving me mundane tasks to do. Like a quest with a better story, an obvious point of interest, and if you want me to collect wolf spleens, have those be used for something, not just traded for experience or money. I like spending my time playing games, but I also like games respecting my time and providing me with a fun experience. And finding out for myself when I think a game is not doing that, or when I find myself not enjoying a game as much, has been a big help in me actually playing and finishing a lot more games. I've had a lot of trouble beating games the past few years, and thinking through why I stopped playing so many of these games, I found I was trying to do too much too quickly in them, and that a lot of things in them simply weren't worth doing. And that's a point I hope I made in this video. With it, I hope you can look at a game you're either getting bored of or already put down, and decide if you were trying to do too much of the content. Or if you're a developer or trying to be one, you can apply it to the quest you're making, by seeing if they're quests that are worth doing to make a more immersive experience. Your time is limited, and you shouldn't spend your free time doing something you don't enjoy. That's all I got for this one. I truly hope you got something out of it and enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye!